Today on Top Gear Rearview, this episode excites Brady.
Shall we? Hello and welcome to Top Gear Rearview. I'm Jeff. That's Brady. Tonight we're looking back at Series 4, Episode 5.
This episode aired on the 6th of June, 2004, and the stars, kind of, in a reasonably priced car, is Johnny Vaughan and Denise Van Outen.
I feel like it really only counts as stars if they both get to drive.
Like, one person just is along for the ride. I don't understand.
Yeah, they're just ballast. But anyway, segments tonight, we are looking at some hatchbacks, new iterations of the kind of, grocery getter hatchbacks of the UK. A look at the MG ZT260, a car, one of our hatchbacks, a VW Golf, getting struck by lightning and what it does to passengers, I guess. And then rounding things out with some performance sport coupes with the BMW 645i, the 911 Carrera 2, and the Jaguar XKR.
Call this series 4 is the transitional series. You have some episodes that are just bastions of glory and awesomeness. And then you have some episodes like episode 2, and apparently now episode 5 and 6.
Well, episode 2 was just like, it was a dumpster fire, and this is more like filler.
Yeah. I don't know what could be more. I don't know what could be more filler than nuns driving monster trucks. But apparently it's Volkswagen Golfs getting struck by lightning.
Well, I mean, they already messed it up with a bunch of golf balls, so.
I know, right?
Oh my god, I just got that. God, that took that long. It's okay.
What?
Golf balls, golf. Duh. Anyway. Let's talk about hatchback, shall we?
Yes, we shall. I guess this is the UK's version of comparing minivans, maybe? I mean, I guess they have people carriers over there, but these are family hatchbacks. These are made for toting the kids around, grabbing groceries, people, yeah. As you said. Yeah, they're made to fit people. They're not just, it's not the GTI. It's just the regular Golf.
Yeah, so we start things off with the Vauxhall Astra, which if you've been following along, they're not big fans of the Vauxhall Astra.
No, this is the facelifted version.
This is the 5th generation. The 4th generation, admittedly, wholly bland. It looks like a Saturn, which is funny because I believe there was a Saturn Astra based on the 5th generation Vauxhall Astra.
Yeah?
The 4th gen was a pretty ho-hum looking thing. The 5th gen definitely does, the styling cues are a lot better. It looks decent, especially in the hatchback. The 5-door hatchback looks good. Hammond calls it a pleasant all-arounder, and not bad, but not a focus.
Not bad was pretty much the whole point of that review, is that it's
become passable.
It's whelming. It's not overwhelming and it's not underwhelming. It makes me whelmed.
That's it. Okay, I agree. It was real quick. Didn't say a lot about it. Moved right on to this Mazda 3, which he started off by saying they could not stop designing.
Yeah, I don't.
Many lines.
I guess it doesn't look any different from, say, the Astra. I don't know where they're seeing this excessive amount of design / body accents from.
See that. I would agree. There's a little bit of kind of weird swoop at the back, but the first generation Mazda 3, which this would be, I always thought was a really solid looking car, and all Mazdas of that era look good. Like we looked at Mazda 5s for a brief amount of time, and I thought that generation Mazda 5 looked way better than the current ones. If you go forward to the 2nd generation, which is apparently the BL, or the current generation, which is the BM and the BN, they're a lot more swoopy. I think they have more lines and too many lines, but I think the first gens look decent.
It didn't look bad. It looked very much like an Astra, which, is just kind of.
Yep.
Not
doesn't go
awful. Yeah, not awful, but not going to catch your eye. Someone will say, "Did you see that Mazda 3 going by?" And I'll go, "What? What? Huh? What?"
Yeah.
How does this size compare? You're gonna have to put things together. How does this size compare to your Protege?
This was the replacement for the Protege, so the Mazda 3 hatchback. Now it's a little bit bigger, I think, as cars generally grow as they age, at least in the U.S. So it was definitely taller and I think a little more paunchy, a little thicker in the midsection, whereas the Protege was kind of a shorter, longer, more of a wagon style than a hatchback. But
Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like yours had a like a straighter roof line. It didn't kind
uh-huh.
of curve down at the end. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pretty much. They did. He did give this one marks for basically good value. I thought was interesting. They have quite a few small engine choices in the UK, which does make sense. Fuel's more expensive and whatnot, but for 14.4 thousand pounds, you could get the 1.6 liter Astra, but that would buy you the 2 liter Mazda 3.
Yeah, I mean, you got it right. It's got a 1.4 or 1.5 or 1.6 or a
It's
2 or a
crazy.
2
Yeah,
3 or a
yeah.
1.6 diesel or a 2 diesel. It's like
There's too many choices.
they're all jammed right together. And I'm sure they're only like what are the what are these units website? They're only like 10 or 15 horsepower units different from each other.
Well, it's funny compared to the U.S. too, especially now. Like you can get like a Mustang, for instance. You can get that with a turbo 4, a 6, or an 8, but it's like a 2, 3. I think the 6 is somewhere in the like high 3 range, and then the 8 is a 5 liter. So it's like you're jumping like
1
a
liter each
liter
time.
at a time,
Not
like
a deciliter.
0.1 liters.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not jumping a shot. You're jumping like a beer.
Yeah, I
A
mean
good beer.
it's all the same block too. If you look at the engine listing provided for the Mazda 3 at the time,
Oh yeah,
it's all the same block. It's just barely overboard, barely overboard, barely overboard.
yeah.
Saving some money there, Mazda.
Different cylinders. Yep. So I guess that moves us on to of these three, what they seemingly is the winner. I mean, it's the VW Golf. This is the 5th generation. They had the 1.6, which came in at 15,285. Quite pricey, but better resale as well.
Yes, that's probably something to say is you're not going to get much out of that Astra, and I don't really know how much Mazdas hold their value.
They do all right, but well, here, I mean, I have no
Yeah.
idea how that compares over there, but VW's definitely holding more. My one of my notes was that when he was talking, doing a little talking head in a car wash, and the mirror was all messed up. That was how distracted I was during this kind of boring segment.
Yeah. He calls the Volkswagen Golf the one you're just going to get anyway.
Yeah.
It's an extremely popular car.
And then he takes it to a driving range.
Yep, and he hits the golf with golf balls, as Jeff just realized.
Yeah,
Is a little jokey joke.
I got it. Well, yeah, somebody was. It obviously wasn't golfers, because if there were that many good golfers there, he was at like a PGA driving range. But
Yeah, golf balls
really just
hit by a golf club would also shatter the shit out of all of those windows.
yeah, that would There was just somebody there with like a handful of golf balls, like right outside the camera.
There was a dent or two in it.
Uh-huh.
If you rewatch
Which is good,
it,
because they're gonna hit it with lightning later.
is it the same one?
I don't know. I assume so, but I think they allude to it, but I'm not sure if it actually is.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So they go through this whole review of these three cars. You get a lot of
really sage consumer advice.
Buy the Ford.
Buy a Focus.
Yeah, buy the Focus. One thing they brought up, and I thought this might be interesting, is they said that this particular Mazda 3 is apparently some way related to the next gen at the time, in June 2004, the next gen Focus.
Yep.
But the next gen Focus was highly lauded as just a fantastic car to drive again. Do you think they're... I bet this Mazda was really good. Maybe they're just underselling it because it was a Mazda. I'm not sure.
I'm sure they were. I mean, from one of the things I remember from the Protege 5 is it is one of the best handling cars I ever had out of the box. It was a very good driver's car.
Yeah, the Mazdas seem to do that. They got that part down pat. So that's probably where Ford gets it.
Yeah. So since this was boring, let's look at the current generations and see which ones we like more.
Okay.
Pulled up.
I can. Yeah, I can.
All of these do still exist, including the Focus. And it's kind of funny seeing the evolution. Like looking at the Vauxhall Astra, I can see. I mean, it's definitely you can see the lineage. The general consensus of like these design things is they kind of just smush the front down a little bit. It's like they had these kind of tall like headlights. I always look at headlights as like eyes.
Yeah.
On all three cars, they had kind of a taller headlight, and then as it ages, I guess the Mazda 3 is maybe the exception. That one gets a little more. It kind of gets squintier and kind of angles a little more. But yeah, the Golf is a perfect example. It's just kind of like it gets compressed and then compressed again for the next 2
Well,
generations.
I think a lot of the front end designs of cars that have to be in the European market is due to their pedestrian impact rules they have over
I'm
there now.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because
It's
they
huge.
all, I have to say, looking at the cars, the front ends look remarkably similar between the Vauxhall and the Volkswagen.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
if you flash one at me, I wouldn't be able to tell you which one it was.
no, like the Vauxhall, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it looks a lot like a Golf.
It's a Golf.
The Mazda
Oh,
looks like a Mazda. They've kept their design style over in Europe as the same as they had over here in the States. So I look at that and I go, okay, the front end of that looks the same as the front end of the 6 and the front end of the Mazda, whatever the SUV is, the 5, and they all look very similar. So they've kept that the same. But the Volkswagen and the Astra look exactly alike. If I had to choose one, Jeff, I'd probably choose, if we're going on looks alone, I'd probably choose the Mazda.
Yeah,
I think the Mazda looks a lot better than the other two.
I'm not a fan, honestly. I mean, if I'd go Focus RS, but of course I'm probably not allowed to do that. I'd have to go base. So if I had to do that, I'd probably go Golf.
You'd have to go, well, out of these three, you can't just choose a Focus.
Oh, I can't choose the Focus, but they
Not
told me
just
to
like
choose
them.
the Focus.
No.
All right, then I'd still go Golf.
Yeah, you still go Golf? All right.
I think it's a good looking car. I like the current gen.
Yeah, well, fuck you.
Brutal.
Brutal.
All right, on to the news.
On to the news. I have exactly 2 things on this, Jeff.
Thing one, go.
You mentioned earlier that there's a lot of variation of engine size in the small to very small range for these passenger vehicles in the UK, and you said it's because gas is pretty expensive. They made a point to bring up that petrol had just passed £1 a liter.
Yeah.
When I was in the UK, this was about 5 years later, it was like in the 120s a liter.
Okay.
So I would say with inflation, that probably had gone down a little bit, actually.
All right.
Which, you know, I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. I just filled my car up. I had a little Focus. It was way less than gas over here in the States, but it's because I had like 25-gallon tanks before I moved over there. But I did a little bit of math, not too much math. 1 pound a liter in 2004 is the same as, it's just a whelming amount. So 1 pound a liter in 2004 is the same as £1.50 now. Translate that over into US funny money. That's $2.03 per liter. There's 3.785 liters per gallon. That is $7.70 a gallon.
Aish.
Which is about
Brutal.
maybe like 80% higher than I've ever paid for a gallon of gasoline in the United States.
Yeah. I think I've paid 4 a couple times, but
I think I've paid in the mid 4s in the East Coast a while ago when I was on a business trip. And so $7.68, you're going to start to design cars differently if gas is always that expensive.
Definitely. Thing 2, go.
So they talked about the Jag S-Type diesel as kind of Jaguar's S, or a response to high gas prices. This is a good introduction to a terrible car with a diesel engine. And they just really, really quickly said, is there anything that looks worse? And normally this is the point at which I would ask Jeff, what looks worse than a Jaguar S-Type diesel? But I'm not, because there isn't.
I don't know.
It might be the ugliest car.
It is. I hate the S-Type.
It's bad. It's bad. So that's all I want to say is that, you know what? I agree. Terrible looking car.
2 thumbs up. You were correct.
Those are the 2 things.
Things accomplished. Next things.
All right. So we're going to go now into the not power lap, which we'll get to at the end of this episode. Jeff has something for me. Surprise. Stick around to the end for the surprise.
It's a twist.
It's a twist. But we're going to talk about the MG ZT260, which is essentially a Rover 75, but with a Ford modular V8 in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was codenamed X12 or X13 for the saloon and estate versions, respectively.
You know what? A lot of times a saloon version that goes to an estate, in my eyes, makes it look a lot better, just because I think estates are pretty cool looking usually.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good shape, long lines. Still pretty looking, I have to say. It's just doesn't do anything for me.
In September 2003, the ZTT became the world's fastest estate car with a top speed of 225.6 miles per hour. Obviously not the production version, but
No, it's they probably did MG's classic. Hey, we're gonna release a car with 1,000 horsepower, and then what they did was put a Ford modular V8 in it and about 700 pounds of nitrous boost into it.
800 horsepower Roush V8 engine.
Yeah. Okay.
It still doesn't look good.
No, it's not a great looking car. Jeremy explained it as that Rover wanted to develop a new car, but they don't have any money, so they just put a new engine in a car, and that requires a certain amount of redesign and money to put into it. So anything they didn't have to change, they just left it, which means that it's a 33,000 pound car, which we're going to get to in just a second, that looks exactly like a Rover 75. And I don't really have any comparison in my mind. Maybe we can think of one right now, Jeff, of what this is similar to in the States. You know, GM is famous for doing extreme badge engineering, but this is like...
it's a tough one. I'm trying to come up with one here.
It'd be like, you know, it's the same body type for maybe the mid-2000s Impala, or the same chassis, mid-2000s Impala and like mid-2000s right before they got rid of it, Pontiac Grand Prix. The Grand Prix was supposed to be the sportier version because Pontiac was the sportier brand. But instead of changing the body, they didn't. And then they made it cost twice as much as an Impala. There's really not a comparison I can think of.
I got one. Cadillac Catera, which is a Chevy Malibu.
Yes, exactly. So you take the exact same looking car as a low to mid-range Chevy and make it a Cadillac. Badge. And some some faux leather or you know, maybe some suede headliner. That's it.
Ooh, I got one more. Dare I say it's Saab 92X? No, not quite. Because it was a cooler car to begin with.
Yeah, no, it'd be like the Saab 95. What was that before? What was that supposed to be before? What was that built on?
I don't know when that one was. I know the Saab 97X was basically a Chevy Trailblazer.
It was an Opel. It was a Vauxhall Vectra.
You're talking about the Saab 93?
Maybe the Saab 93? Yeah, the 93.
But that one was the one where they were like, Saab was like, yeah, GM said, use the parts. And they said, we will. And then they came back and said, we didn't.
Yeah, so that one...
We ignored you.
They made it cost more by redesigning the whole car. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, in general, I would say, had a positive review. He really liked how it drove. He was entertained by how it drove.
That is the point that I wanted to get to here, which is interesting because he said his quote, to quote him, was, "It handles like nothing I've ever driven."
Mm-hmm.
And that made me kind of think, like, what? I don't know why that would, like, watching him drive it, it was like, it looked like an incredibly controllable slide. Like,
yeah, he said everything was in slow motion.
Yeah, he was hooning the thing around and having a great time. So I looked into this one a little more. So they had to convert the Rover 75 to rear-wheel drive, and a lot of the engineering was done by ProDrive. And ProDrive is a phenomenal engineering company that makes very fast cars. So I have to imagine they had a heavy hand in making that thing drive well.
I actually made a note. I was looking this up while I was watching it. You're correct. It was developed by ProDrive, who have also developed... Sorry, they have developed a lot of other... Maybe not production stuff, that's crazy, but they were Subaru's World Rally Championship designer. So Subaru, any car that was in the World Rally Championship that was Subaru's was made by them, and they won a lot.
Yeah.
And so they obviously know what the hell they're doing. And in this case, it kind of seems like they just didn't have much money to play with, so they just did what was, they would think, a engineering firm, what they would think was most important, which is probably the best, is making the engine run good. So they took the modular V8 and made it, I guess, less crappy. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. It's middle of the road anyway. And then they made the suspension work really well for the size and type of car it was.
Yeah.
And everything else, they just were like, we don't have any money to touch that, so we're just going to leave it the same. Interior the same, body the same, all that other stuff the same. But where it counted, it seems like they did a really good job.
Yeah, which is admirable. I'd like to see engineers that have their priorities in order. One more thing on this, I saw a reference to this as a Q car, and I said, what the hell is a Q car? Have you ever heard of a Q car?
I feel like I have looking this up. No, what is a Q-car, Jeff?
It is the British English version of what we would call a sleeper.
Oh, yeah. Exactly,
Yeah,
yes.
so Mercury Marauder, that kind of thing. That's the one
Mm-hmm.
they use in this article. But
It looks like a
well,
Rover 75.
exactly. But this
Yeah?
one, I was like, where did Q car come from? Dug a little deeper, and it was a group of heavily armed merchant ships designed to lure submarines into making surface attacks, and used by the British Royal Navy.
So they were armed sleepers in the sea.
They were like, "Come steal our stuff." Oh no, you all died.
That is badass.
Yeah. So I like the kind of that little wormhole or that little kind of rabbit hole that it led me down. That was some fun information.
All right, Jeff, let's talk about the price of this thing.
We should talk about the price because we're gonna have to rank this because despite what this episode showed, they put it round the track.
This is what they put around the track?
They had to put something.
Why did they cut it out?
I mean, I imagine it was boring. The time isn't exactly stellar, but it took me. I went through this episode and realized like, oh, there's no lap time. Okay, whatever. And then was watching episode 6, and when they're putting up the lap time for
you saw it.
Yeah, it was very close in time to the next one, or at least in frame of camera. I was like, wait a minute, that name is familiar.
Oh, I wrote at the very end of my notes in gigantic in gigantic letters. WTF no lap. Okay, well let me get the power rankings going, brother.
They did it,
right.
and apparently we're ashamed of it or something.
I mean, it's American edit. I'm sure. I don't know. Okay, so this was 33,000 pounds,
which is a bonkers amount of money.
So we'll get to this power rankings thing, and then we'll talk about the lap time, and then we'll talk about that price again. So, what was the time, Jeff?
The time was a 1:33.7.
Okay.
And all indications are that it was dry.
Okay. All right. That's not great. It's not a great time. All right. So, Jeff, what would you rank this out of 10 for desirability?
I would give it... I'm going to give it a 3. Be a little generous because it looked like a lot of fun to drive.
You know what? Yeah. I'll give it a 4. I'll go one more than you on that one.
All right,
I'll give it a 4. It's bland for sure on the outside, and I'm sure the stuff that was remnant from the Rover was probably not terribly well built, but I have a feeling it probably was a lot of fun to drive, and it probably drove really well because it was peeped by a company that tried to get into F1 and was winning World Rally Championships.
Yeah,
they're probably pretty good. All right, Jeff, this is the 57th entry into the Top Gear Rearview Power Rankings. And the MG ZT260 came in 49th.
Oh, all right.
Not unexpected, I have to say.
Not at all.
Unexpected.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. So I did, again, the quick calculations on it. 33,000 pounds in 2004 is $67,109 today.
That's M3 money.
Well, I went and looked at what would be a comparable car. A tuned-up American saloon. I went and looked at, or a tuned-up American car. I went and looked at a 2018. I'm on the Ford Builder. There's no discounts or anything. Shelby GT350R.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's like 60.
Every option available, I clicked it. So we got the premium AM/FM stereo with 9 speakers, Sync 3, dual zone, R electronic package. All sorts of crap. Actually, I've selected the R electronics package and the radio delete.
You're paying and you're paying again, and you get.
I've got a full carver cover. I've got all this stuff, and it comes to $69,015. So this GT350 2018 Mustang.
That's the R. That's the R, right?
That's the R. Yes, the R.
Oh, that's carbon fiber wheels and ceramic brakes and like just a stonking amount of power out of a flat plane crank V8.
Yes.
Same money.
Same money as a Rover 75 with 3-generation old Mustang engine. You know what? I might go for the Mustang myself.
I have to agree.
I'm just surprised at how expensive.
Yeah, there
must have been a lot of development money in it. I don't know. Just garbage. Speaking of garbage, Jeff.
Who are these people?
All right, so they were, as you mentioned earlier and correctly supposited, they are morning show television hosts, drive time, BBC something television hosts. Johnny Vaughan and Denise Van Outen.
It's Johnny Vaughan.
It's Johnny Vaughan.
Johnny
Denise,
Vaughan.
Denise Van Outen. I recognize Johnny Vaughan. Later on, I don't know which time it is, when they upgrade the reasonably priced car, they bring in a series of mediocre celebrities to drive it around just to get a couple set of lap times.
Yep.
And they bring him back in, and he is just as obnoxious then as he is now.
Ugh.
He is extremely obnoxious, and apparently the only one allowed to drive the reasonably priced car.
Yeah.
Usually when there's two guests, like, say, Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, they don't just make Cameron Diaz sit in the passenger seat.
Yeah, that was a dick move. Maybe she can't drive. I don't know.
Maybe she just doesn't want to. I'm not sure. I don't know. They didn't. I'm going to go with they didn't let her drive.
I don't know. But, yeah, she was just there to look cute, I guess. Which, not bad looking lady. Carry on with that.
She did that job well. That's all I've got. He wasn't very good.
He had a Maserati. She had an A3. He drove poorly. And then they had some fake thing where he just did a massive clutch dump and then pretended to run away. I don't know if the massive clutch dump was fake when he definitely just grenaded the clutch.
Yeah, I think he broke
runaway
stuff.
was. Yeah. Oh, no, that clutch was in pieces. Like, that thing exploded.
Yep. Nope, it's gone. Yeah, you did it, guy. Denise Van Outen's been a lot more successful than he has. I think, not surprisingly. She's been in a bunch of movies and a bunch of TV shows and been on Strictly Come Dancing, which is Dancing with the Stars here in the States.
Strictly Come Dancing.
It's way more
anything
popular
else,
over there.
Out of here.
She was also engaged to JK.
Yes, she was. Yeah, they didn't mention that. Apparently, it didn't work.
Apparently, it didn't work. That's all we got. 153.4, which these days is pretty bad. Garbage. All right.
Speaking of garbage, let's hit a car with lightning, I guess.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, what?
What happens when lightning hits a car?
The camera stayed working, which I was impressed with.
Well, they're wireless, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe they had them inside their own Faraday cage. The answer I was looking for was nothing.
Surprisingly little.
Yeah, so they put it inside of a Siemens transformer test yard, high voltage test yard, with a string and a washer above it. Apparently Ben Franklin ran this thing.
He did.
And they hit it with, what they say, 800,000 volts?
Yep.
I'm stretching here, Jeff.
That's it. Yeah,
That's all they did.
Some of the dash lights came on. Hammond is still alive. The camera retained its memory, and then that was the end of the segment.
I think I tried to catch it a few times, but if you look closely, I think there's a chain connected to the exhaust pipe.
Okay.
To flow the current out of the car.
To ground it.
Yeah. So that the lightning actually struck it instead of just striking it something that was completely insulated from the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
cool. All right.
Speaking of cool.
Cool wall. What a dumb cool wall, too.
Oh, man. This is going to be a short episode, Jeff.
The Carrera GT, uncool. Wrong. SLR McLaren, cool. Wrong. BMW 6 Series, cool. Wrong. Next segment.
Yeah, the cool wall sticks around for a while, and everyone in the audience seems excited by it every time they bring it up. But it's times like these that you just go, what is the point of this segment?
I mean, they're inherent. Like,
how
wrong? Yeah. Just, I mean, I get the joke, but I can always guess where it's going to end up. So,
yeah, no.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, so they brought up the 6 Series.
Yeah.
I guess as a segue, which is what the cool wall has been relegated to thus far.
Yep.
To talk about sports coupes or, I guess, big sports cars. These are not like little roadsters.
I mean, the 911 is not huge, but the 645i and the XKR they're big hosses.
Yeah, they are. So, This is a shootout, quote unquote. More like just bullshit around in a pretty cool location. I have to give.
Yeah, I remember the location from like that.
I remember this episode.
Yeah,
for sure. Or this segment. Yeah. The cars are the 645 Ci, which is the BMW 6 Series, which is, I think, the first time they've had it since the redesign or the reintroduction.
Yeah, because they hated the 5 Series, and this one they said it wasn't bad.
Well, James kind of liked the 5 Series when he reviewed it.
Well, they hated the styling of the 5 Series.
Yeah. James filmed the 6 Series at the exact same place he filmed the 5 Series. I presume at the exact same time. They just waited an entire season to show it. It's like at a refinery. It's the exact same location.
Good point.
Yep. The next one is a Porsche 911 Carrera 2, which is at the base.
Yep, pretty much.
Lowest level. Kind of to bring it in price range with these other ones.
You go Carrera 2, I think C4S. I'm going to lose track here, but Turbo S, etc.
Yep. GT something else, GT something else R.
Yep.
Then the Jaguar XKR.
That's the best plural of Jaguar I've ever heard. How many Jaguar were there?
It was my Jaguar in-law. This was the 4.2 liter V8, but supercharged, had the most horsepower out of the bunch, 70 more than the BMW and 80 more than the Porsche. I don't know. It might have been the heaviest too. I don't know. That BMW looked pretty heavy too.
That also did, yeah. The 911 is not super heavy, but it's still a little heavy.
So they introduced the cars. James is in the BMW. Hammond obviously is in the Porsche, and Jeremy again obviously is in the Jaguar. And they go out to the Pendine Sands, which was a very cool location. It looked like an extremely wide kind of tidal zone, maybe. Yeah. Very flat, so that when a tide raised even just a little bit, it covered a ton of surface area, which means they got a gigantic, flat but wet and sandy tarmac type of open area to drive around in, which looked really cool because you could just spin that thing for days.
Just hoon it up.
Just all day, every day.
Yeah.
Until the tide came in, I suppose.
Yeah, until you sunk it in the ocean like you did with that Toyota.
Yes.
They didn't do that with the Jaguar, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I was hoping it was going to lead up to it. Is the Jaguar still running after it comes out of the ocean? No, it's gone. It rusted away.
We're going to move the Porsche aside because if I asked you which one of these you like the best, we'd both say the Porsche.
I was going to have a more fun game with this and say, what 3 cars would you take?
Well, let me go for mine first.
Okay.
So I'm going to put the Porsche aside because if I asked which one was the best,
I'd say
we'd
Porsche.
both say the Porsche. Yeah. Which one would you like more, the XKR or the 645?
I think I'd go with BMW.
Really? My boss's boss, when I lived in Houston, Texas, had a 6 Series, and it just never grew on me. It is the most drastic of the redesigns, I think, because the 5 Series kind of grew on me a little bit more over time. It was ugly at the start, but it was the most drastic, especially the tail end.
Yeah, and that is what James said. He said it got half styled. Like they got to the end and then they were just like fell down.
So maybe the XKR, I think. I might. There's an argument at least in my mind. I'd have to drive him to figure it out. At that point, it's not just like, no, screw that thing. But I usually don't like Jaguars, so.
Yeah.
All right, so what was your game? That was
my game. My game was choose 3 cars you want to take out there. You have to, let's see, I had some other constraints because I wasn't going to say just American because none of these are at least 2 countries of origin. So choose 3 cars from at least 2 countries of origin. Big rear wheel drive, sporty coupes, let's say.
And probably less expensive than like an Aston
sub $100,000.
I think a Porsche has to be on that list.
I completely agree.
I think a Porsche has to be on that list. So that's Germany.
I think I'd go one size notch down from this. Like these are just a little too big, or maybe like try to match the 911 because the XK and the 645 are a little bigger.
You know what I saw today in Fort Collins driving around was that new Kia Stinger.
Oh, that's a good one. It's not a coupe though.
That's
a sedan.
Yeah, you didn't say coupe, but okay, yeah.
I feel like I said coupe. I think I will be vindicated by the tape.
We're gonna have to go back to the slow mo.
But the Kia Stinger is a good call. I didn't even think of that.
Maybe the Stinger. I saw that today, and my wife's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "That's a Kia." She's like, "What? why?
Yeah.
Like, why is that car a Kia? Why isn't that car something else? I'm like, that's a really good question.
It feels
I
like it
guess
would
that's
fit better in the Genesis line.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I mean, that's Hyundai,
But nope,
but same
Kia.
thing.
Porsche, I'm still going to stick with the Kia. Man, all I've got in my mind now is that Shelby 350R.
I mean, that can be one of them. That's the thing.
You probably an F-Type. I'll probably go with an F-Type.
F-Type was on. I was going to kind of copy this a little bit with some tweaks and go Jag F-Type, Porsche 718 Cayman, and then the BMW probably M4.
Yeah, I think I would do the same thing, but I'd swap out the M4 for the Stinger just because I feel like it'd be a lot of fun.
That is totally allowed. All right. That Stinger would be fun out there. That's a good car. That's a good one.
F-Type's a good car too.
It is. Which one? I mean, you got to go with the 8. I think you can get a V8 for about that money.
Yeah, you'd get the full line out of the Stinger though for that kind of money.
Oh yeah. I think those like fully loaded in the 60s.
That's a good one. This is a good game. Let's see if we can get a couple comments on the Facebook. I'll put a post up there showing Jeff's 3 on the pending sands, my 3 on the pending sands. Tell us what 3 modern cars, coupes around $50,000 to $70,000, from at least 2 countries of origin. What else is there?
I think that's it.
What 3 big throaty rear-wheel drive sports cars would you bring out to the pending sands just to hoon around if you had all day and you could take it back to the dealer when you were done?
Yeah, you didn't have to keep it. You're like, here's your sandy car back. Enjoy smelling like fish.
Yeah, I would go with the Stinger, and if you made me stick to the coupe, then I'd probably bring the 350R.
Man, I'm checking prices real quick to see, and there's that 60 there's a lot of sweet spot around there. What is the Stinger?
I feel like it's going to be less than that.
I think it starts lower than that. I think it starts in the 40s. Holy cow, it starts in the 30s. 31.9.
31?
That is
not even at 39.
That's a base. You can get a GT for under 40 though.
I mean, I guess we should probably say maybe a Corvette would be in that list too.
Yeah, I don't think you can do a Z06. Z06 would be too expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go, if you were gonna go like, you could definitely, I could make this game with American, coupes. I'd go GT350, not the R, base Corvette, and probably Hellcat.
Hellcat.
Yeah, Challenger Hellcat.
Yeah. That'd be a good shootout.
That'd be fun. It'd be really. I think they just dig themselves into the beach and disappear. But
yeah. Kind of surprised these cars didn't. It's a 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
I mean, a Hellcat's a few more than 400.
only almost twice. To round that whole thing out, for some reason they called it a winner, which was the Jaguar, which is completely expected. They said it needs more space and it needs a limited slip differential, but in the true style of Top Gear, we're going to ignore these shortcomings because it is of our homeland.
Yeah, because we don't want to just keep giving it to the Porsches or the Miatas.
Yeah. Miatas?
If you had to get any list of anything,
in that group at all.
No, but drives better.
True.
Yes. Let's wrap this thing up, Jeff.
I agree.
So thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed it, head on over to iTunes and give us a rating and review. That'd really help us out. And you can always check us out at Facebook. Go tell us what 3 big coupes you would bring to the pending sands for a day of hooning around. That'd be a lot of fun to get a discussion going.
Definitely. This episode is going to be coming out on the 11th of May, 2018, and that is 2 days before Mother's Day. So I did want to throw out a quick shout out to my mom, Brady's mom, and all the moms out there. We love you. We appreciate you. We hope you have a great Mother's Day.
Yes. Hi, Mom. And then hi, mother of my children. Happy Mother's Day.
I suppose our wives, too. Yes, wives. You are wonderful ladies. I think you mentioned most of it. Ratings and reviews on iTunes always help. Facebook, YouTube, all sorts of different ways to get a hold of us. If you want to just do it the old-fashioned way and email, we have topgearrearview@gmail.com. And that should about wrap it up. So on that note, we will see you here next week for Series 4, Episode 6.